Hi guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel and welcome back to another Sims 4 speedrunning video, or welcome to the channel if you are new here. So in today's video I'm going to be building in the world of Willow Creek, which is one of the base game worlds, and I'm going to be building a huge base game only Victorian family home. So this house ends up having 4 bedrooms and 6 bathrooms, which by the way, I didn't actually realise that this had so many bathrooms until around about hour and a half ago when I came in and I got my Sims to playtest this house, because I mean, like always, the house has been playtested. I normally mention this at a point when I do something that looks like it's not going to be usable for your Sims, but anyway, I realised that this house has 6 bathrooms about an hour and a half ago, and I didn't realise I furnished that many, but your Sims are always going to be able to go to the toilet basically in this house. But as well as that, it also has a home office and a greenhouse, and I basically just can't wait to come into my game this week and build something using only the Sims 4 base game, which means if you don't own any of the other DLCs, any kits, any stuff packs, there's a lot of different DLCs at this point, but if you only have the Sims 4 base game downloaded, you can download this house and it will look exactly how you see it on the screen. Which actually, that reminds me, I feel like I never speak about this, but I get so many comments about it, so I feel like now's probably a good time to mention it, as I am doing a base game only build. But basically, a lot of the time people ask me in the comment section if you can still download a house that I've done if they only have like a certain amount of packs, or if they only have the Sims 4 base game. Pretty much the way the Sims 4 works, from my understanding anyway, if you was to say only have a Sims 4 base game and maybe like 1 or 2 DLCs, maybe you got an expansion pack, maybe you got a game pack, you can still go into the gallery and download any build that you want. It's just when you download it, some of the items might look a little bit different. So I believe the way that it works is sometimes the items will either just completely cancel out and they'll remove themselves. And so, say for instance, I might have used, I don't know, a cottage living kitchen set, and you don't have cottage living, I think the kitchen itself will either replace the items with base game counters or just a pack that you have, or it will just completely remove it, so then you have to come in and manually re-add them items in, if that makes any sense. I just thought I'd mention it because I get a lot of questions about that, and I don't think I've really ever spoken about it. But anyway, it's not the case for this house, because I only built it using the Sims 4 base game, which, if I'm being honest, I actually can't believe I didn't use any external like DLCs for this house. Like, it's literally just the bulk core part of the bulk, you know what I mean? It's literally just the Sims 4 base game in this house, and I'm actually so impressed with myself, because first things first, it's built on a 40 by 30 lot, which it's a big house. Like I said, it's got 4 bedrooms, 6 bathrooms, greenhouse in the garden, it's got a home study. It's probably got more room for other bedrooms if you wanted it to, but I felt like 4 bedrooms was quite like a nice rounded number, because the way I decorated the rooms, there is like a parent's bedroom, a teenager's bedroom, a child's bedroom, and then a toddler's bedroom. And then the toddler's bedroom also has like an object baby crib, so if you do want to play with, you know, object baby, there is an option. It's pretty much kind of like a all life stages, if you wanted to, could live in this house. But it's a Victorian house, which I feel like I haven't mentioned this in a while, but if you've been here for a while, and I'm talking years, you might remember me saying a long time ago, the one thing that I really struggled with building in The Sims 4, one of the things I struggle with the most, is Victorian houses. Like, I don't know what it is, I just always really struggle to make them look right in the game. Maybe it's because there's not really any Victorian buildings where I live, and it's just, I don't really see them that often, and whenever I try and recreate them in the game, they just look a bit iffy. And either way, I'm just so proud of this house, because it's base game and it's Victorian and it's huge. And so yeah, I hope you guys like it. But anyway, getting on and actually talking about something which is quite exciting. I say something, we've got a lot to unpack here. Honestly, the past week I've struggled to keep up with Sims news, because there seems to be so many different things happening, so many different kind of like promotional things. Also, we've got like a lot of speculation going on. Honestly, I feel like I'm a Sims news channel, but I'm not. But I try and keep as up to date as I can with Sims news, and I've struggled this past week because there's just been so much going on. But first things first, if you're not aware, which I feel like a lot of people will know this if you're on Twitter and if you're on Instagram, but say you don't have any social media, you might not know this, but basically, the Sims 4 base games, the core game itself, is going free, which is happening October 18th, I believe. So if you're someone that really wants to get into playing The Sims 4, and you're maybe like holding out till a certain time, maybe you wanted to wait a little bit, watch some more videos, if I was you, don't buy it yet. Wait until October 18th, and then you can download it for free. Like, you don't have to put any money towards it. It's kind of like this new free promotion thing that The Sims 4 are doing, which I just think is such a great idea, because if you think about it, how many people do you know that might want to get into The Sims 4 and they want to start playing this series of The Sims franchise, but they're a little bit dubious because they don't really want to spend the initial bulk fee of buying the base game to find out if they like it or not. I'm not sure how much the base game is now, because I think over time, because The Sims 4 has been out since 2014, I think since then it has decreased in price. I think when it first came out, and please don't quote me on this because it could be completely wrong, I think it was around about 50 quid or 50 pounds when it first came out. I think it might now be 35 pounds. I don't even know, but think about how many people you know that would like to get into The Sims, but they don't want to spend that initial 30 odd quid buying a game to figure out if they like it or not. This way, so many people are going to be able to download the game for themselves for free, and then they can kind of experiment with the game, see if they like it, and that way some of your friends might then also become Sims players, and then you can talk about it. I just think this is such a great thing, and I'm actually really happy that the Sims team are doing this. Really hoping that they're going to do something similar for The Sims 3. I mean, even though The Sims 3 has had its day, we don't really get any updates in it, but I'd love if The Sims 3, like, Ultimate Collection could come out, because I still play The Sims 3. Sims 3 is one of the greatest games ever, in my personal opinion, but yeah, that is one of the things that is happening. And also, if you're someone from the future, and maybe you've just got your hands on The Sims 4 base game, it is just turned October 18th, and you've just downloaded it for free, you can go ahead to the gallery, and you can download this build off my gallery, and you can play in it, and it's completely furnished, like, 4-bedroom house, and yeah, that was the first thing. Second thing, which I mentioned last week because I did a build using it, but there is currently a free kit, which is also kind of part of the promotion for The Sims 4, which you can go and download if you already own The Sims 4. So I think the way that they've done it, where they're giving out The Sims 4 for free, I think they didn't want to, I don't want to say dishearten, but I think they didn't want to, like, upset anyone. And so as that, they're kind of giving away this free kit as almost a bit of a thank you. I think anyway, I mean, I don't have a clue, I'm just speculating here, but I'm assuming they're doing it as kind of like a thank you for buying the game and playing it for so long. As we're giving the game out for free, we want you to also have something for free. And so if you already have The Sims 4, you can go ahead and download the Desert Lux kit, which came out last week. And again, it's not going to cost you anything, it's kind of like part of this free promotion thing. So like I said, if you've already got The Sims 4, go and get yourself a free kit. You might as well, it's a freebie. Even if you think you're not going to like it, you might as well get it, because it's a free thing, you might as well. But then if you haven't got The Sims 4 and you're wanting to get The Sims 4, like I said, hold out. Like, just do yourself a favour, wait a few weeks until the base game goes free, save yourself however much it is, maybe like $30, pounds. I don't know what the conversion rate is in different countries, because I've been saying that the base game was like £50 when it first came out. I have no idea what it would be in different countries. I'm just going off the UK. But yeah, it's kind of like this new thing that The Sims are doing. And unfortunately, the way that they've done it, and I understand why they've done it, but you can't get the base game for free and then go ahead and get this free kit as well. It's just kind of like, if you've already got it, you can get this kit now, but if you haven't got it, then you can get the base game for free. So it's kind of like you get a win-win situation. But then there's also another thing happening. Like I said, we've got a lot to unpack. There's a really big stream, and I have absolutely no clue what this could be about. I have ideas, but probably completely off the mark. But there is this new stream that is happening at the same day that the Sims 4 base game goes out for free for everyone, and it's called The Sims Summit. And the Sims team on their Twitter have been really hyping this one up. They've also created a separate Twitter, which I have speculations about, which I just spoke about in my Discord, which, I mean, to be honest, I could be completely off the mark here. But, and also, by the way, if you're not aware, I do have a Discord, which I haven't mentioned in a while, but it's always linked in my description box down below. But the Sims Summit is meant to be this really big stream. They're hyping it up. People are speculating, right, that The Sims 5 is coming, which I don't think it's coming, but I think they might. I don't think it's going to be out like within the next few months. I think if they was to speak about The Sims 5, which is so exciting if you actually think about it, like, what are Sims 5? Like, what are The Sims going to look like? Because are they going to be more like cartoon-like? Are they going to be more realistic? I have no... Would it be a mixture of both? I feel like a mixture of both won't... I mean, I don't know. I'm excited to see what it is either way, but people have been talking about maybe they're going to be showing early development of The Sims 5, because I feel like it's probably in development. If The Sims 5 is going to happen, I feel like it's probably in development already, because, I mean, it's not something that you can whip up in a few months. I feel like, I mean, I have absolutely no clue. I am not a game developer, but from my understanding of, like, watching Paralives as a game kind of, like, build itself up and other simulation games, they take a while. They take a good few years, and they have a lot of different resources going into them and a lot of hard work, and it's not going to be something that's going to be out within the next few months. But I reckon they could either tease it, so they could show us like little snippets of what it could possibly look like, or maybe, I really hope it's open world, didn't you? Like, imagine if The Sims 5 was open world. It'll it'll be like The Sims 4 went backwards, yeah, but I mean, I feel like at this point, with the amount that Sims players, like Sims 4 players, have been asking for like open world or like a semi-open world, like open neighbourhoods, I feel like it'll be a bit bizarre if The Sims 5 came out and it weren't. But either way, people have been saying Sims 5 are coming out. I'm intrigued what you think, because honestly, I could talk about this all day long. Like I could just speculate about The Sims 5 for literal hours. Like what they're gonna look like. Are we gonna have any kind of like DLCs built into the game? Probably not, but wishful thinking. Do you know what I mean? Like I also think as well, going back to my Discord when I was talking about it, we've got a new Twitter for The Sims. So you know how The Sims 4 has quite a lot of different. Quite a lot is actually an understatement. We have a severe amount of bugs and glitches and just things that go wrong and they shouldn't go wrong, and the game wasn't made that way, but somehow it happens, and you know, we get some serious glitches and bugs in the game. Basically, before, I believe it was kind of like tied to a sim guru's Twitter whenever they was going to do like updates to the game, or if they were going to take the gallery offline for a minute for a bit of maintenance. I believe it was tied to a sim guru's Twitter, which was, I think, Sim Guru Nick. So like if you ever had a problem, like, or if you're experiencing a bug, you could normally go on Twitter and then like mention them and say like, hey, you know, this thing is happening in my game, like whatnot. It was a bit of a weird system, the way that they did it, and so they've got this new like Twitter, which is called, I think, The Sims Direct, and pretty much it's basically like a Twitter for the bugs and the glitches and updates within The Sims 4, whereas now the original The Sims Twitter, I believe, is just being more like a bit of a promotional, a bit of like the business front of it, whereas this new Twitter is more like dealing with the nitty-gritty bug fixes and the patch updates and whatnot. I was speculating, and again, I have no clue. Do not take what I say seriously, because I could be, and I'm completely wrong. I had a feeling, and now I'm saying it out loud. I'm realising this sounds really silly. I thought at first maybe this new Sims Twitter was possibly coming out because they wanted The Sims official Twitter, the one with the blue check mark. I don't know if this new one has got a check mark yet or not, but the Sims team have like come out and said this is actually associated with us. But I originally thought that possibly this new Twitter could be more focused on The Sims 4, and then the current The Sims Twitter with the blue check mark could then be Sims 4 and then possibly Sims 5. I mean, like I said, now I'm saying it out loud, it does sound a lot sillier than when I originally thought about it, because I was just really excited and I was just speculating. I was imagining what Sims 5 could look like, and now I've actually kind of realised, actually, hang on a minute, it's probably not going to be Sims 5. Or it's not going to be like a Twitter for The Sims 5 because it's not going to come out for a while. It probably will. And if you're thinking about it, The Sims 4 and The Sims 5 will probably have a little bit of overlap, which I'm more than happy with. Like, love that. But maybe that will happen one day, but it probably is not going to happen soon. But that was my initial thinking. And I hope I wasn't the only person that thought of that, because I don't feel like it's too bizarre of a thought process. But other than that, other than like The Sims 5 early development, I actually have no clue. Like, this is more so what people have been saying. I mean, I was just kind of like going off what I was seeing on Twitter. I have actually no clue what else it could be about. Like this big stream that they're really hyping up. Maybe I actually ain't got a clue. I was about to give a suggestion, but I ain't got a monkeys. Like maybe we're gonna get semi-open neighbourhoods. Maybe that's it. That'd be great. Or maybe we're gonna get cars. Doubt it. Or maybe update babies. Again, doubt it. But apart from that, I'm actually genuinely curious of what you think it is, because I don't have a Scoobies. But yeah, that was just kind of like the news. I'm not a news channel, but I basically just gave you the news of The Sims and what's been happening in the recent few weeks, week and a half and whatnot. But anyway, getting back and talking about the actual house itself, because I'm not a news channel, this is purely a speed build, but it's exciting to speculate. I love speculating things, I love thinking about things, I just love talking about things and getting everyone else's ideas, because sometimes someone might, like one of you might comment something and I might be like, yes, that is completely probably what's happening. Like, why don't I think about that? So please let me know your thoughts, because I'm genuinely curious. And also, if you want to join my Discord, we can have a little chat about it if you want as well. But getting back to the actual build itself. So as you can see, I've gone around and I've done the majority of the landscaping and pretty much the majority of the outside. I'm now just going in and figuring out the inside of this greenhouse. Now, the lighting in here is a bit oversaturated. It's very bright, and I know that, but it was because it's got a glass roof, and I wanted to use a glass roof that's got all these like fancy, kind of like Victorian looking details onto the glass roof, because, you know, I'm building a Victorian house. But it looks really good in gameplay, but when I was building it, the certain like time of day that I was building it, it does look very bright. But In here, I pretty much just wanted there to be a greenhouse, so your Sims can come in here and plant loads of different plants and fruits and vegetables and flowers and whatnot. I have actually already come in and I've tested out whether all of the planters work. Now, the planters don't work if you want to have a plant on every single corner, because the way that them planters work, you can either have one like tree and it takes up the whole entire planter, or you could have like 4 smaller bushes, whether they be vegetables or flowers or herbs or whatever it is. But when I was doing it, you can't have it so you can have 4 herbs in them because your Sims can't get all the way around, but you can have it so it's got trees in. So when you download this house for the gallery, you'll notice that I've already planted, I think it was apple trees and then I think pear trees in there. The pear trees your Sims can interact with because they don't have to go around the complete edge of it, but that is just something to be mindful. But I didn't want to change the way that it looked because it still functions and you still got plenty of planters. It's just the really big ones in the greenhouse can only have the trees in because it's the only things that your Sims can actually get access to. But as well as that, in the garden, you will notice I end up placing down like a little barbecue area. There's also the telescope, which I forget that telescope even exists, which is terrible because for the longest time I feel like we all wanted a really small telescope, because if you're new to The Sims 4, you might not know about this, but the Sims team have got like this problem with giving us normal size objects in real life and just making them absolutely massive in The Sims 4. The cupcake making station, why is it that big? The telescope, it was literally colossal, and they finally gave us an updated telescope which is small. Pretty sure your Sims can put it in their inventory, but I always forget about it. To be honest, part of the reason is probably because where I normally build with all the different DLCs and all the different like stuff packs, expansion packs and whatnot, the catalogue can very easily get quite filled up, and so sometimes you just forget about it, and for some reason they didn't place it down into the garden, like the garden category. You know, like all the different things your Sims can do in the garden. There's like the flower arranger table, there's a swing set, there's the monkey bars. They didn't place it down into that category, and so I'm going to use that as my excuse as why I always forget about it, because when I come around to doing gardens, I'm more so just focused on that category and things that you would normally find in a garden, I place into a garden. Because I mean, like having, I don't know, for instance, a computer desk in your back garden doesn't make much sense. But so they didn't put it in that category, but other things that do make sense, if you get what I mean. Anyway, besides the point, there is a telescope in the back garden. We originally got it with the Werewolf game pack when that first came out. We got it from base game, and then we also got like a telescope which was like from the game pack itself. It was just a kind of a different version of it. But then there is also monkey bars in the back garden, and then there is also, I think, like a few different easels planted all around the place. But now, as you can see, I've now moved on into the inside of the house, and I've already done the front like entrance hall. Now, one thing that I wanted to mention, and I've actually failed to mention it up until this point, I wanted to build a Victorian base game house, because I've done a few different base game houses like over the past few years, months and whatnot. I've done like typical suburban base game houses. I've also done, I think my most recent one was like a Mediterranean built in Oasis Spring base game house. I hadn't really done a Victorian one, and so when it came onto the inside, I wanted to try and make it a little bit Victorian, a little bit of like a more traditional furnishing rather than more like suburban family home, if you get what I mean. So I use a lot of fancy wallpaper which you'll notice as we go throughout the inside of the house. I mean, the kitchen is kind of just like a blank standard kind of like tile wallpaper, but in terms of like the hallway, which you've already seen me do, and then kind of like the bedrooms and the lounge rooms and the dining room, it's all quite fancy, or like quite Victorian looking. I tried to make it Victorian. It's a little bit Victorian, a little bit more traditional. One thing that I really wanted to have in the kitchen is kind of like this checkerboard flooring, because, and maybe my idea of it is completely wrong, but I've always thought of Victorian houses having this kind of like black and white checkerboard flooring, or like something that's black and white with some sort of pattern. But the ones that we have from the Sims 4 base game, I weren't really feeling. So you can see in here that I've decided to make my own one, which is actually really easy to do. So basically, you know, when you normally place down any type of flooring into whatever room you're trying to furnish, normally you can either press like shift and it will cover the whole entire room. Sometimes you can drag it, so if you only want it to have certain areas and whatnot. But normally the way that the game like functions, whenever you go and place down any type of flooring, it will always work on the one tile system. But there is a few different like key bindings and shortcuts so you can get it so it can be like a quarter. So I've done it in this kitchen as quarter. You can see that I've done black and white. It's the same tile, but basically what I did is I made the whole entire room with, I think it was the white flooring to start off with, and then I hit Control F on my keyboard, which by the way, I think it might be different depending on what type of computer you've got. Because I think, and I'm pretty sure I've heard some people say that the way that they do it is they press F5 on their keyboard. I've never done that way. I've always just pressed Control F. But basically, I covered my whole entire floor in the kitchen of this white tile, and then I pressed Control F to activate the quarter tiles, and then I just went and individually placed the tiles so it was kind of like a bit of a checkerboard pattern. It's just a way to get like more interesting flooring within the game, and it works with everything. It's not just tiles. You can do it with wooden floors, you can do it with carpet. Sometimes I'll do it with wooden floors, so I'll do it so the flooring is facing like a different way, so then it looks like it's going like zigzag. You see the flooring that I've got now, it's actually like diagonally zigzag kind of, I think it's called herringbone, I think, don't know, don't quite remember that. But either way, you can actually do that with other ones in the game. You don't have to stick to this one that's got the zigzag. If you just change the direction that the flooring, like the slats of the wood go, you can make all different kinds of custom flooring, basically is what I'm trying to say. It's quite a good little building hack, which it's just fun to do sometimes. But I did that in the kitchen because I wanted there to be this kind of like checkerboard, what I think is quite stereotypical of a Victorian house. But in there, as you would have seen, I went for, I was about to say base game counters, but that's pretty much obvious, isn't it? Because base game house. I went for my favourite counters, which if you've been here for a while, I always use them counters. Even if I'm not doing a base game house, they're just some of my favourites. They come in so many nice swatches, and they're a good classic for me. But you would have also seen that I did the very front entrance doorway when your Sims walk in through the door. I wanted it to be quite fancy in this house. Now, I didn't really have a particular family in mind when I was furnishing this. Normally, whenever I'm building, I'm always trying to focus on the family and, you know, their interests, their hobbies, what they're going to be like as kind of like an overall Sim, and their just everything about them. But when I was building this, I didn't really have like a set in stone like idea in mind. Originally, when I first started furnishing it, I was thinking that maybe like an aunt and an uncle could possibly live here, and they live here with like their niece and nephews. But then as I was going throughout the build, I then thought maybe possibly like a family could live here, like just a normal like parents, kids kind of situation. To be honest, you can do whatever you want with this house once you download it off the gallery. And the good thing as well about it, whereas the base game house, and I've said this before, but with base game houses, you can download them and it's only got the base game in it. But then with that, say for example, you've got the Seasons expansion pack, or you've got, I don't know, the Cats and Dogs expansion pack. You can then just take the structure that I've built and then go around and change it, and then add all the different things that you have from different DLCs, and just kind of like make the build yourself and just kind of furnish it to all the different furnishings that you like. And that's one thing that I really like about doing base game houses, because sometimes people ask me to do like certain type of builds, like, oh, can you do a base game build with, I don't know, like the Cats and Dogs expansion pack and then the Laundry Day stuff pack. But then sometimes I feel like it's easier if you just have a base game build, and then if you have them certain types of DLCs, then you can come and like add them in by yourself, because there's so many different DLCs at this point. The different variations of like just using Cats and Dogs and, I don't know, the Backyard stuff pack, or maybe using Seasons and, I don't know, the Laundry Day stuff pack. Honestly, the possibilities are almost endless because we've got so many at this point. And so I feel like a base game build is kind of like a good starting point. You can then, like I said, take the build and then just add whatever you want. But as long as you've got the Sims 4 base game, which again is going free very soon, you can then just kind of alter the build and change it in any way, shape or form that you want. But anyway, as you can see, I finished up kind of like the dining room. Ended up being quite formal. And do you know what? This is not one of my favourite styles to furnish, like this kind of like traditional looking style. But I really was enjoying the way I was furnishing this house, because where it's quite formal, quite fancy, quite not my cup of tea normally, but I was trying to make it work for this build. I had so much fun just using all these different items that I normally just kind of like scroll past in the catalogue. But in the dining room, there's like a really big long table. It then has an archway which then goes into the lounge room. The lounge room, I use these sofas, which actually, I need to use the sofas more, because I've known about these sofas well, because I remember years ago I renovated the Goth household, and I'm pretty sure I used them sofas in that swatch in there, and I remember thinking like, these are beautiful sofas, use these more often. But where I don't normally build very traditional houses like this, I never normally tend to go towards them. But the sofas that I used in the lounge room are these base game ones, and they come in a 3-seater version, a 2-seater version, and also some armchairs. But normally the default swatch in the catalogue, you know, like the first swatch when you put it out, it's got a completely different pattern on it. But there is these 2 swatches, and they're kind of like a little hidden gem within the sofa, because I feel like if you normally was to scroll past that in the catalogue, you'd probably be like, not really my cup of tea. I don't really like that pattern, and so I'm not going to use them. If you actually look at them, there's these two little, I'm going to call them secret swatches. They're not, but I'm going to term them as secret swatches that have like different kinds of stripes. There is one where the stripes are really wide, and then there's one that the stripes are quite close together, and it is so pretty. And so I really enjoyed doing the lounge room because I use them with this like really big rug. It's got kind of like these like beige tones and these blue tones, and also kind of like matched the wallpaper because the wallpaper in that room was like this blue paneling, and it's just I absolutely love the way the lounge room came together. But as well as that downstairs, as you would have seen, I just decorated the home office. I always seem to find myself being really stuck when it comes to decorating like home studies or just like a home workspace, because in The Sims 4 sometimes maybe it's because I make them so big, but I feel like in real life, if you have a home office, you're more so just going to have like your desk in there with your computer and a desk chair, and then maybe like a bookcase, and then maybe like a filing cabinet or two. I don't really know what you have really in a home office, and so when it comes to decorating them in the game, I just try and put like things that I feel like you probably would have. So normally in terms of like unbase game builds, so like builds where I use different types of expansion packs and whatnot, I'll normally use this like little filing cabinet thing that we got from, I think it was the Get to Work expansion pack, but where I was only using base game, I basically tried to make my own version in that room. So I basically placed down this little bedside table, and then in base game we've got this clutter object which is kind of like loads of different folders of files. I basically put that on top of it and tried to make that look like a filing cabinet of some sort. And it also ends up being like a little chest table in there and a bookcase. I put a globe in the corner because why not? And then I think that was pretty much it for the home office. It's quite a small room. To be honest, if you wanted to, you could probably make that into the 5th bedroom. If you wanted to have like grandparents living in this house, you could probably do that. It's quite a good house in terms of if you wanted to add more bedrooms or even expand in the house and add like extra bump outs, I feel like it's probably quite easy to do so. But anyway, as you can see, I've now moved on to the upstairs portion. You've already seen me do like the hallway. Again, I placed down a chest table. I think in the end, there ends up being like 3, possibly even 4 different chest tables in this house, because I know I placed down 2 on the outside, 1 on the front porch and then 1 on the back porch. There's also 1 in the dining room, 1 in the home office, 1 in the upstairs hallway, which you just saw me place. I think that there's at least 5, put it that way. So if you've got a kid and you're trying to do, what one is it? I think it's the mental aspiration for kids, because if you're not aware, kids only have 4 different types of aspirations in the game, and one of them is the mental one, where basically you have a little smart kid. But one of the things is, like one of the checkpoints in that aspiration is play chess with an adult for 2 hours. If you have a kid in this household, then they're sorted, because there is enough chess tables for your Sims to practice chess, and also it just gets up your logic skill. It's a really good skill building item. I'm pretty sure your Sims get their fun up using it as well. I pretty much in this build try to place down everything that I could that comes in the Sims 4 base game to try and make it as fun as I could possible, and as just make your Sims learn a lot of different skills, and just place down as much stuff as I could possible within this house. But as you would have seen, I've already done one of the bathrooms. Now, like always, if you've been here for a while, you know this, I only ever show the furnishing of one bathroom. Too boring, it's too repetitive, and I normally like to decorate my bathrooms pretty much the exact same, like tiles on the walls as well as on the floors. And so if I show more than one, and there is 6 in this house, it's just going to be so repetitive. And so I only show the main bathroom, but there is 3 bedrooms that have en suites, which is the kids' room, the teenagers' room, and then the parents' bedroom. And then there is the main bathroom, which I showed you, and then downstairs there is a small little toilet right by the front door. I always try and make like bathrooms by the front door, or try and make a bathroom or a toilet at least close to a front door somewhere, because sometimes if your Sims are like popping out, they need to run off to go to work, or if they're going to school, it's just handy just to have it near the front door so they can just go to the toilet and then they can head out. There is also one bathroom right by the kitchen, which I was thinking, if you have the laundry day stuff pack, if I was you, I would probably make that into a laundry room, because I built it and I was kind of like decorating it in mind for if you do have that stuff pack, you can make it into that room. But of course, if you don't have the stuff pack and you just have base game, it just serves as an extra bathroom. But now, as you can see, I've started furnishing the bedrooms. I just started off by furnishing the toddler's room. So in there, I placed down like a little, I want to say makeshift changing table, because it's not usable, but basically I just got this chest of drawers, and then I merged in this little like ottoman, and I raised it up, and then I basically just ever so slightly adjusted it using the tool mod, so then it looks like the cushion is coming out of the dresser itself. Kind of looks like a changing station. And then I also placed down some nappies, and then using the tool mod, I basically like layered the nappies to make it look like, alright, the toddler, maybe they need to get their nappy changed, that's where they get their nappy changed. This family, they think ahead, and instead of having nappies like in the drawer or whatnot, they've got them already stacked up on the side for when, you know, they need to change their kid's nappy. But as well as that, in that room I ended up placing down, I think, a bookcase, like a teddy bear, a toy box. There's also a bin in that room, which, to be honest, it's pretty much not usable. Well, it is usable, like your Sims it functions, but I placed it down next to the changing station because I was thinking you don't really want like dirty nappies just lying about. But then realistically, in The Sims 4, when you actually get your Sims to change a toddler's nappy, they literally just fling it into the air. Like, where does it go? But I like to put a bin down next to a changing station if I ever do create them, because for realistic purposes, in real life, if you change your kid's nappy, you're not going to fling it into the air. That is probably the worst thing that you can probably do. But as you can see, I've now moved on into the next room, which is the child's room. So in here, I decided to go for this bed, which used to be from the Parenthood game pack, but at some point, and I'm pretty sure it's when we got the base game update, the bunk bed update, they changed it so it's now a base game item. Because if you're not aware, sometimes the Sims team will take like certain things from different game packs or expansion packs, and they'll then make them so it's a base game item. One other example I've got of this is, you know, the camera in the game where your Sims can buy a camera and they can take really large pictures of their friends and family. That, I'm pretty sure, used to be from the Get to Work expansion pack, but at some point, and it could have been when The Sims 4 rebranded like years ago, they changed it so it's now a base game item. It was pretty much the same case with that bed, so that used to be from Parenthood, but now it's in the base game. But I used it in the red swatch, which I really like this red swatch. I don't know why I don't use it more often. It's really pretty. But for some reason, whenever it comes around to me doing teenagers' rooms or children's rooms, I more so don't even go towards that bed. I more so go towards something that's like a little bit of a different kind of bed frame and bed swatches, because, you know, the Sims team, they're very funny with their swatches. They'll only have certain swatches to certain beds, and there's different swatches that I like favoritise over that one. But it is still a really pretty bed swatch. But in there, as you would have seen, I placed down a doll's house in the corner, and I was really impressed with this idea. It's not even that smart. Basically, I wanted there to be a doll's house in the corner, but then I also wanted to fill out the space around it quite nicely. So then I went into the debug menu, and I found the toys that Sims will actually play with. So like kids and toddlers, they will hold these toys when they're interacting with the doll's house in game. I basically found them in the debug menu, got the tool mod, and then I rotated them. Some of them are rotated so it looks like the kids have been playing at the doll's house, and maybe, I don't know, the parents called down because it's tea time, you need to go and have your dinner, and then they've kind of like plopped onto the floor. It looks a little bit more realistic. I was really impressed with that idea. It's not the most genius idea, but I just really liked that little touch. But I placed down, I think, 4 different types of dolls near the doll's house. 2 of them are rotated so it looks like they've just been dropped, and then 2 of them are kind of just like standing. I then placed down some more dolls on the chest of drawers in that room. As I'm building a Victorian house, I placed down some Victorian dolls on the chest of drawers, or at least they look Victorian. So you might have noticed, and if you didn't clock onto it, you might see it in the screenshots. But I basically, on the chest of drawers, it's kind of like a little fish tank. And then there is these 2 dolls, and they're dressed kind of like in Victorian dresses. I think one of them's got a hat. I think one of them's wearing like a blue dress, and one of them's wearing a pink dress. But I just thought I'd mention it because I purposely placed them down because they look quite Victorian-like, and, you know, Victorian house and whatnot. But then also in that room as well, there ended up being like a bookcase, a toy box, and then also a computer desk. But now, as you can see, I've now moved on into the next bedroom, which is the teenager's bedroom. So in here, I actually really like the way it turned out, but I was really struggling on how to decorate this bedroom for a teenager, because the thing is, with The Sims 4, we only have a handful of different double beds, and more so all the different double beds in terms of like the bed swatches, they seem to be targeted towards like older generations. So they're very traditional, like they don't really have that many like teenagery kind of bed swatches, if you get what I mean on them. And so for this room, I decided to use this bed, which, if I'm being honest, it's not my favourite bed in the game, but it was the one that worked the best for the room and kind of like the colour scheme and whatnot. So I used this kind of weird, kind of like curved bed and placed it in the centre. I also placed down the same rug that I placed down into the lounge room. But then one thing that I wanted to point out that I did in this room, which I'm so proud of, it's not even the most genius idea, and I've done it a few times, I think, and I think I've also seen a few other people do it as well. Basically, I created like a little desk, but I want you to have like a custom made like built-in desk. So the way that I've done it, you can just about see it in the left hand corner. Basically, I had this wardrobe and I kind of used it as a bit of a structure point. I then placed down a kitchen counter and then I put a bar stool onto it. I then got a computer. I then put the computer onto the counter, sized down the counter really small, so small that your Sims can't see it. I then placed down a shelf and used that as a tabletop, and then I basically just found this pole from the live edit menu and merged it in, and I used the tool mod to adjust it so you couldn't see like the top of the post, because the post that I used had a bit of like terracotta at the front or like at the top of it. I merged it in, you can't see it, and then I basically created like a little custom desk. I was really happy with that. But now, as you can see, I've now moved on into the last bedroom, which is the parents' bedroom. In here I just use stereotypical at this point items that I feel like I use in pretty much every single type of parents' room. You know, you've got a double bed, you've got a chest of drawers, a bookcase, you've got an armchair. I use a divider in this room. I never normally use dividers, and I don't think I've ever used that certain type of divider as well. It's kind of like a more traditional looking one, but it kind of filled out the room nicely as this was such a big room. But I'm just going to go around this bedroom and finish it off, and that is pretty much it. So anyway guys, I'm going to end this voiceover here, and as always you can download this build via the gallery. My origin ID is JessicapieYT, or you can just search for the hashtag JessicapieYT or just the hashtag Jessicapie. As always, thank you guys so much for watching this video, and as always, if you do like my content then please do subscribe, and hopefully I will see you in my next Sims 4 speedrunning video. Bye guys.